Welcome to Mentoring with the Masters. My name is Jennifer Kuyrkendall. I'm the Third Circuit representative for the Young Lawyers Division Board of Governors. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Peggy Hoyt, who is going to be speaking with us about pet trusts. Peggy, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer.
Peggy, can you tell us what is a pet trust?
Well, it's an excellent question because people sometimes get a little chuckle when they think about, do people really plan for their pets by using trusts? And the answer is yes. A pet trust is a trust for the benefit of a pet. So the pet is actually the beneficiary of a trust, much like a child or another family member might be a beneficiary.
Why would somebody want to go ahead and create a pet trust?
The most typical situations where you're going to see a pet trust are going to be, and this would be the most common, so not the only example, but a situation where you might have a single person whose only children are their pets, for couples who are childless that only have pets as their children, or even for couples who have children but have come to discover that they love their pets more than they love their kids.
They're fur babies.
They're fur babies, exactly.
What are some of the considerations that you take into account in developing a pet trust?
There are a lot of considerations, so it's not something that you want to do without giving it a lot of thought first. And first and foremost, what you really want to think about is going to be who's going to be the ideal pet caregiver. So who's going to be the person that's going to take care of my pet for the rest of its life? And this would be analogous to thinking about who might be the guardian for a minor child. So who's going to be the pet caregiver, and then thinking about alternates. Because if your first choice can't follow through for some reason, so let's say I leave you 7 dogs, and you're living in an apartment, and that just is not a workable situation for you. As much as you might like to have all 7 dogs, you might have to say, really can't do that. I could take 1 or 2, but I can't take all 7, so is there an alternate choice? So picking 2 and sometimes even 3 pet caregiver choices is a good idea, including the idea of perpetual care organizations. So is there an organization that might be able to provide that lifetime care if the people are unable to?
Okay, certainly would that be the type of thing to where the attorney developing the pet trust contacts those people, or the person asking you to develop the pet trust for them? Did they develop the people that will be the ultimate caregivers?
They'll be the ones that'll suggest the appropriate people, because usually it'll be friends, it'll be family, it'll be someone that they have a trusted relationship with that they feel confident is going to take care of their pet the same way that they would take care of that pet.
How do you determine the funding for the trust?
That's really hard sometimes, and I think the most famous case in this regard is the Leona Helmsley case, where she left $12 million for the benefit of her dog Trouble. And the New York courts actually said $12 million is too much for a dog, and they reduced that amount to $1 million. So in thinking about how much we're going to leave to a pet, it really is a good idea to think about what are the care requirements for that pet? How much are you spending right now to take care of your pet? And then I always say inflate that number to an extraordinarily high number and figure it out based on the pet's life expectancy. But again, inflate that number to an extraordinarily high number. So if a dog would normally live to be 15, let's say that we would say that dog's going to live to be 20. And if we would normally spend $500 a year, let's say we would spend $1,000 a year. That would take into consideration things like emergency veterinary care or other contingencies that we might just not be able to plan for.
What about the care team or person for the animal? Do you actually compensate that person or not?
That's another question that we spend a lot of time talking about, because some people do want to compensate their pet caregivers. They want them to do a good job, and it is a job, certainly. Some clients want to leave their homes for the benefit of their pets, and so part of the compensation becomes living in the home, taking care of the pet, and so having a really nice place to live for a period of time. Others want to just make cash contributions or distributions for the benefit of that pet caregiver as well. So there's an unlimited number of ways that you can think about compensation.
What about designating the actual level of care? Certain dog foods are more expensive than others. Surgery only up to a certain level. What do you do with that?
We do have a conversation about each of those things, and then I encourage each of my clients to do what's called a pet profile. So it's actually all of the details, the operating manual, if you will, for your pet, detailing what do you feed your pet, how often do you exercise it, what are its favorite toys, what's its medical history, does it have a microchip, who are the veterinary caregivers at this stage, just everything that you could think about for your pet, and then keeping that updated over time. So because I have so many pets, 3 horses, 7 dogs, and 1 cat at the moment, I actually have a notebook that I keep updated on each one of my pets, including pictures of my pets so that anybody coming in would know who they were, and then also all of the detailed care requirements for that pet.
In the trust, do you even address issues such as the final disposition of the pet?
We do need to discuss that, and we also discuss that in the context of extraordinary veterinary care. So what happens if your pet becomes catastrophically ill? How far do you want to go with that treatment? How much are you willing to spend? Are you willing to, do everything, even if it causes the pet discomfort or reduces the pet's quality of life? In fact, just yesterday, I did a pet trust with a family where they determined that they didn't want to take any extraordinary measures if there was less than a 50% chance of that pet making a full recovery. So really weighing the costs and the benefits to the pet, and then talking about that final disposition. Do you want your pet buried? Do you want your pet cremated? If the pet is going to be cremated, what do you want to do with the remains? Some people want them returned so that they can be placed with their own remains, and other people say, they can be retained by the crematory or some other disposition.
Peggy, could you touch on the termination of the trust itself as well as the remainder beneficiaries?
So usually a pet trust is going to terminate, I kind of jokingly see, either when we run out of money or when the last of the pets dies, and that would be the most advantageous time for the trust to terminate. But usually you're going to have a remainder beneficiary, and in most cases it's been my experience that people choose charitable organizations like a Humane Society or an SPCA or a favorite animal welfare type organization. One of the dangers of naming a human beneficiary, and you can imagine that this would be true, is that that human remainder beneficiary might want that pet trust to terminate sooner rather than later. So as to avoid unnecessary litigation, I am usually recommending that they choose some sort of a charitable organization.
Peggy, you've certainly shared a lot of useful information with us. Are there any other points that you would like to make?
Absolutely, because in the creation of a pet trust, you're going to have not only your pet caregiver, you may have a trustee, somebody who's responsible for the administration of the assets, and that would not necessarily be the same person as the caregiver. And then in some cases, people like to create what I call an animal care panel. And that's an additional checks and balance system to make sure that your pet caregiver is doing what they're supposed to be doing and providing guidance to the trustee about the proper distribution of assets. So in my case, I actually had 2 animal care panels, one for my dogs and cats because they have particular needs, and then one for my horses because their needs were different.
Certainly. Well, Peggy, you have provided us some fantastic information and explored an area that not many people know about. So we thank you so much for being here and joining us today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.